So Dan?
I'm Dan Magnuszewski. I graduated from UB with a bachelor's in '05 with a solid 3.0 grade point average. And I was talking to some other people, it's the greatest path to entrepreneurship is to not do well because all the big companies just will not look at your resume. So, best thing that ever happened. So I graduated in '05. I worked, while I was going through getting my degree, I was working at M&T Bank doing, building network monitoring software, things like that. I stayed there for a little while, realized I needed to get out. So I went to a smaller technology company here in Buffalo called Synacor and did that for a while doing Linux administration, then on to software engineering. One day I was sitting around and there was talks of an IPO and I had equity and all that was great, but I was like, with my equity and all this other stuff, am I ever going to be able to have a yacht if I stay here? And the answer was no. So a buddy of mine, we were talking and got going, and he had some ideas. I said, okay, I can build that for you. And I told my girlfriend at the time that, all right, yeah, I'm going to leave this job, and everyone thought I was crazy, and left and went out and started a company, which blew up miserably 6 months later, and I had the opportunity to start doing some freelance software development, really like a technical co-founder for hire for people with money and ideas, and in the West Coast, New York City, Chicago. I did that for a while. Got some good experience from the technical side in the early stage of starting companies. Around that time, Z80 Labs was opening here in Buffalo, and Ron Schreiber and Jordan Levy were the guys getting that going. So during that time, I was doing a lot in the community, trying to get different events going on, trying to bring UB and industry together and trying to get more events happening where you had people from industry and people from academia. So we did a bunch of different events like that, like Startup Weekend, and through that, I said, okay, well, I can go do this thing, this more community stuff, investing, helping startups full time. So we went and did that. We had a $5 million seed fund. We invested in a bunch of companies locally. Z80 is still going, but after a while, I was getting bored of investing and sitting on the sideline and coaching, and missed being up till 4 in the morning coding. And so I started looking for my next thing. And while I was there, I met a partner, or my now partner, who had an idea. He's like, I don't know if this makes sense. And it was in the auto space, and my dad has a used car lot, so I grew up understanding automotive and auctions and things like that. And it was one of those other scenarios. I was like, I could build that for you. And we started, that ended up becoming ACV Auctions, which we started, and I left in January of 2015. I left Z80 and started ACV Auctions, and we've since then built the company up. We have, I think, almost 140 employees right now. We've raised $22 million in venture funding from New York City, from the likes of SoftBank, Tribeca, Bessemer Venture Partners. So, and we've been able to do that all while staying in Buffalo. So that's what I do now. I'm CTO over there, and we're building out, some of the best, building out a great team with using, best technologies, and hoping to give students the opportunity who may want to stay in the area, but still want to work on all the same type of technologies and tough problems that they would at Google or Facebook or Twitter or wherever. So that's what I do.
That's great. So, Dan, I want to joke about you graduated, right? As you know, many famous entrepreneurs didn't even do that. So, I guess you're ahead of the game there.
Right. Barely.
Rohini.
So I think most people know me. I'm Rohini Srihari. I have a day job. I'm a professor in the computer science department, but also an alumni of the department as well. since my boss and chairman is sitting there, I should say I do love my day job, love being a professor in the department, interacting with students. But I've had opportunities throughout the years to do various other things, and I suppose I have this compulsion to not say no to certain opportunities. So the entrepreneurial part, I think I call myself an accidental entrepreneur. It started off really with applying for an SBIR grant, Small Business Innovation Research. I was working in natural language processing, and there was an opportunity to do something to really scale up NLP, which might sound silly now, but back when we were doing it was quite a revolutionary concept. So that led to a small company, which led to venture funding and a couple of other companies. The last company I was involved with, we had an exit about 4 years ago. I stayed on with that company for a year as a word which I also don't like, chief data scientist. But anyway, after that I decided I wanted to come back, have some normalcy in my life. I came back to UB, I was teaching, enjoying my work, enjoying interacting with students. But then this year, I find myself once again on a leave of absence, but I'm doing something very different, and I think probably the most interesting chapter of my career. So I'm in Washington, D.C., working at an organization called the United States Institute of Peace. And it's kind of interesting because Anmol was talking about the long tail, several industries that have not seen technology. There is one which people don't think of, and that is peacekeeping, conflict resolution, humanitarian aid. This is an industry, it's a multi-trillion-dollar industry. If you think about the amount of GDP that's lost due to addressing these types of issues. And so this is an opportunity to really bring data, technology, to really come up with scalable solutions to some of these problems. So, and the entrepreneurship part of it is the most interesting. Maybe later on I'll talk about some of those issues.
I think that's really important, because the point that she just made there, entrepreneurship doesn't necessarily mean, right, you start a company and you make a lot of money or whatever, right? Anything you do outside or by yourself or that takes on life of its own because you build the whole ecosystem that you need to succeed is entrepreneurship, right? You don't have an established organization like a big company or whatever to help you with that. So I think that's absolutely entrepreneurship. So a quick introduction to everybody. What I want to do now is start delving into a little bit, right, into their personal journeys and maybe draw out, what are some, important, pearls of wisdom. There are already a lot of things that were said here were actually very generalizable and very, very important. And we'll come back to that later. And but maybe Russ, we can start with, why did you get into it, right? What was it about? And what you touched on some of those things. You asked your wife, for 2 years and so on.
When you start out, that wasn't, back in those days, I didn't think of myself as an entrepreneur. I had worked at a large company. I saw a value in applying PC-based systems to industrial needs. Mm-hmm. Everything had been done with PDP-11s and mini computers and mainframes, and there was this whole new revolution that was about to start, adapting personal computers and network systems to industrial applications. So there was a big value for customers out there. And so I looked for money. I went to my wife and I convinced her to support me for a couple of years. I had a couple of partners that were working with me.
So your VC was your wife?
VC was my wife and my mom. This $15,000.
I bet you got good terms on that.
Yeah. And she got good terms. She got 10% of the company for $15,000. But that's my mom. She's 86, so. So always go to your mom and your wife first.
Friends and family.
Friends and family.
That's right.
So we started, and for 2 years worked on a product in my basement. 5 of us, night and day. and one of my partners came, said, "What's for dinner tonight?" to my wife. She said, "I married him, not you guys." So she said, "That's a little bit over the edge." Okay, so money's one thing, cooking for all these guys is another thing. But we got very close and we had a lot of collaboration. So of course having the value in what you're doing, the collaboration with a really tight-knit team that's working day and night on a mission. And then we went to our first trade show. And we had 450 leads. We had NASA, Polaroid, people that wanted to use our software for all kinds of things. Wind tunnels, making SX70 film. Even the Disney people wanted to monitor their parks. So from there, we were Inc. number 31 after 5 years, Inc. 192 after 6 years. So we were on a very high trajectory rate. And you know, we had my partners, of course. It's like being married to people. This is one of the things in entrepreneurship they don't really talk about, is that you're married to your partners, just like your wife. And if you're in tight quarters all the time, that gets a little edgy, okay? Everybody knows the color of each other's underwear and everything like that, okay? So after a number of years, I started buying back the shares of all of my partners. You know, the company bought them back. And I was the last one standing after 30 years. And so today we have about 200 people, and we have offices around the world. And had to learn a lot through this mission, you know, all about finance and sales. And, you know, we're engineers. You know, we have to go out and sell people. In fact, selling is the hardest part of entrepreneurship, because not only are you selling to customers, but you're having to sell your own people all the time. You have to convince people that doing Windows versus OS/2 is more important, or doing cloud and IoT is very important. And if people buy into that vision, then everybody works as a team. There's always some people that are fighting you to the end, but you've got to sell. You're selling your wife, you're selling your partners, you're selling internal is harder than selling external. So being an entrepreneur requires a really good skill in selling and convincing people to do things they wouldn't normally do. And so that's my my answer to your question.
All right. No, I think that's key. And again, a lot of pearls of wisdom there. Maybe the one thing that I'll try and extract right before we get to Bob in a moment is the support from family and the trust that you have to build with your initial team. Right? I mean, it's the people that matter the most, right? Is that a fair summary? And the reason you get it many times is because people around you, like Dan also mentioned, his friend came up to him and said, "You know what, I have an idea, let's do something," right? And that's how you decide to get into something, right? It's not always, you know, I have this mission to change the world, and some people start that way. But vast majority of entrepreneurs start because somebody they know, somebody they trust, comes to them with a possibility. You see a demand or value in the marketplace, or opportunity to create some value. You have the opportunity to work with somebody you want to work with anyway.
I've convinced 5 people to quit their jobs.
There you go.
And join me in my basement.
That's right. And unless you know them,
that requires some selling.
That's right. And unless they trust you, they're not going to do that, right?
Correct.
So it's a fascinating ride. So Bob, on to you.